Morning, everyone. Happy Monday. Another week upon us. Um, I wanted to acknowledge you all. It's day 26. As I've said, more than anything, it's your consistency in coming here that matters most. And that's sort of a big truth in life. You know, our capacity to commit to things really, really, really matters. And I think we know that, but I don't know. Speaking for myself, it's difficult to operate with that level of commitment. But one lesson I've learned is often we associate our journeys to the destination, despite the sort of folk wisdom that it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. We're sort of destination oriented creatures. Our minds are oriented towards goals. And something that really helps me in terms of consistency is that the initial goal isn't often, there's often more beyond that initial goal that we can't fathom, that we can't understand, because as we get to that initial destination or end point, we change. And the person that we become as we arrive at this goal is a new person with a deeper field of vision, a deeper understanding of the direction that we're actually moving. So one goal leads to the next goal, leads to the next goal, leads to the next goal. And if we pull this into the experience of our mindfulness practice, at first, people have no concept of what the now is. It's a very, very perplexing suggestion to be here now. But as you practice, you know, we're at day 26. I got quite a few emails over the weekend that until recently, the experience of the now was elsewhere. And then somehow, you know, through the consistency of the practice, there was this flash moment of, I am here. And now that you've achieved that goal, you have this firm understanding of now, we can manipulate that. A new destination, a new goal point emerges, but you can't get there. You can't see that further horizon until you give yourself to the first checkpoint. So consistency really matters, and I think it matters more than we realize for reasons that we don't really understand. And so that's a side note. What are we going to get into today? We're still going to work with this bell. We're going to work with this bell until the end of our challenge. It's a very helpful and simple technique. But essentially, this bell is a method of association. You are associating this sound with the action of mindfulness. Even though mindfulness feels like an opening, it feels like a dissolve, it is a something. It is something that you learn to articulate. And that's all that has to be said. The final point with this bell is that a bell is just a bell. In one of Thich Nhat Hanh's sort of speeches, he says that even your phone ringing is a bell. And this opens the conversation to the deeper point. Everything is a bell. The dog barking outside is a bell. The thought in your mind is a bell. The mosquito buzzing in your ear is a bell. The fire truck driving by is a bell. Your traffic is a bell. Your anger is a bell. The coworker that annoys you for whatever reason is a bell. And if you can get to this point where you realize you exist in a universe of bells, a universe of reminders that you exist, you will find that your moment is always flourishing with opportunities to connect. And that's all that's happening, is that we are endlessly being pushed into connections. And if we dissolve our judgment and dissolve our expectations and fall in love with the experience of connection, the experience of living fundamentally, our sense of well-being will increase. Your mindfulness practice, your formal practice, is just a very intense and specified and isolated space in which you can practice this sense of connection to the moment as a whole. When we go out into the world, we are interacting with aspects, with pixels of this moment. And for whatever reason, that becomes a little bit more difficult. Obviously, because we have very strong associations and judgments about these specific points within our reality. People, places, things, meals, events. Your mindfulness practice, again, is a love affair with the now in its entirety, which is certainly romantic and a bit more poetic and unique. But we exist in a universe of bells. And so we're still going to work with the half ring. I hope that helped you to feel that you're actually doing something and you're actually required, you're being called upon when you hear the first and the second bell. But in that in between, and so we're going to push the time between each ring to 5 minutes, which is, a fairly decent amount of time. Every sound, right? Every sensation, really do your best to recognize it in the same way that you hear this bell, with the same significance. It is calling my attention. There's nothing in my mind I have not invited in. Hafez. There's nothing in my moment I am not responsible to welcome and uplift. Okay, let's get into it. Comfortable seated position. Enter your space. Create your mindfulness. And as you settle into what is hopefully familiar, just understand you are in a practice. You are developing a skill physically, neurologically. You are developing an understanding philosophically. And you are nurturing an experience. You are nurturing an experiential space that can be reconstructed. But as we push forward or become more intimate with this space, we change. And what we thought might have been the finish line, the experience of mindfulness, for example, once we arrive there, we realize there is more. There is an eternal capacity to become present, an infinite potential in nurturing gratitude, an infinite opportunity in developing more and more non-judgment, more and more patience. And as these attitudes develop within us, the experience of the now changes. The experience of ourself changes. The experience of the world changes. I think we underestimate that there are alternative consciousnesses, alternative modes of interpreting our reality. And in that, at least subjectively, alternative realities. Everything is a bell. While it is true enough to say that the now is ever present and has always been here, accessible to anyone who is fortunate enough or skillful enough to access it, the personal experience of this relationship is progressive, like all things embedded in time. And so from day 1 to day 26, the experience of intimacy is new. Our sense of familiarity is enriched. And this is progress. This is the consequence of regular practice. Feel that. You are developing a relationship, developing a skill, conditioning your mind, and constructing a habit that is taking you somewhere. At the starting line, your intelligence naturally makes predictions of what you will find or who you will be by the end. But there is no end. If you keep practicing, the flower of mindfulness will continue to transform and take you places you could never have possibly considered when you were only at the beginning. But the strategies, philosophies, and commentary of practice are a world apart from the practice itself. When you are on the cushion, actually committed to embracing the now, when you are being mindful, there is no journey. There is only this. The session is now technically over, but I encourage you to stay 10 more breaths, if not 10 more minutes, reconnecting to the theme of this practice, the idea and point of the mindfulness bell. Everything is a bell. Everything is a reminder to the open-minded that you are here and that your responsibility being here is to welcome what arises, to make yourself fully available to the experience in front of you. Be it in your mind, be it in your heart, be it in your environment. Everything is a bell.